So check it out. Today we're going to install the ROF-T running boards from Romik on this 2019 new body Ram 1500 crew cab. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we are underneath the truck. We're on the driver's side. We're just behind the front wheel well. Now we're going to come along the rocker panel to this first set of 3 studs. Now these are threaded studs that are there from the factory. One thing you may notice is this one right here doesn't have a whole bunch of paint all over these studs. I've already cleared those off. You will need to clear off any kind of paint that is on your factory studs if they are there. Also, do not use impact drivers or anything like that when you're installing this stuff. Definitely just use hand tools. Next, what we're going to do is locate our driver's side front bracket. That's just going to slide right over top of these holes. Now, one thing about the driver's side front bracket is this foot right here is bent to face towards the rear. If that foot is bent to face towards the front, we would be using that at the rear of the driver's side and not at the front. Now we're going to take some of the supplied nuts and just thread them into place. We're just going to put them on hand tight for right now. All right, now moving back along our rocker panel, we're going to come to a second set of 3 studs. We're going to use the exact same style of bracket. So the foot of the bracket is also going to be facing towards the rear of the cab. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to install hand tight 3 serrated flange nuts. Now, just to throw this out there, guys, whenever you clear off these studs, if there is paint there, you can either use a really aggressive wire brush, or what I prefer is I used a 8 millimeter by 1.25 thread pitch die from a die and tap set, and that worked wonderfully. All right, now moving to the back of the cab, last 3 set of studs. We're going to go ahead and raise up our last bracket. Now this is going to be shaped just the exact same at the top. However, the foot of the bracket is going to be facing towards the front of the vehicle. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to use our supplied serrated flange nuts and just put them loosely in place, or kind of hand tight in place. And again, I just can't stress enough, make sure that you clear any kind of paint away from the threads, and don't use power tools when you're doing this. All right, next we're going to go ahead and take our running board and set it on top of our brackets. Once we have the board set in place on the brackets, we're going to slide the plates inside the bracket, or inside the running board, over top of the brackets. All right, and then once we slide the plates over top of the brackets, we have an additional plate that we need to insert in place and line that up as well. That's essentially going to work as a clamp. We're going to do that on all of our brackets. All right, next we're going to go ahead and drop down our carriage bolts into these channels, spread them apart, and loosely thread on some serrated flange nuts. You actually don't even want them to really touch just yet. We just want to make sure the carriage bolts don't lift out. Once we do this with all 3 of our brackets, we can go ahead and adjust the board where we want to sit along the cab, front to back. All right, now once we've got our board lined up where it's supposed to be, make sure the board is pushed all the way in towards the cab of the truck, up against the bracket, and make sure our clamp plate is pushed all the way up against the board. Make sure we've still got good spacing on our carriage bolts. We can tighten those up, finish by hand first, and then we can follow up with a 13 millimeter and tighten them down all the way. All we really need to do is get them nice and snug. And once we've done all of our brackets, we can go back and tighten our brackets to the cab of the truck as well. All right, we're going to use the same 13 millimeter to tighten down the brackets to the cab of the truck. Again, these are serrated flange nuts, so you don't have to tighten them down super tight. Just get them nice and snug, and it'll hold everything in place and they won't come loose. We'll repeat the same process on the opposite side. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or come visit us online.